Are you a fan of pro wrestling, comedy, and combat sports? Then we have the podcast for you because we cover that and much, much more.
Do you like to debate with your friends? Do we have the perfect segment for you? It's the 531, where we take any given subject, break it down to a top 5. From there, we debate it down to 3 and then into that number 1 spot.
If you want to get a hold of us, find us on our social medias. Search Working Fans Podcast on any major social media platform. And if you want to find the podcast, search for us on any major podcast platform, as well as YouTube.
Working Fans Podcast. We put in the work so you don't have to.
Fans, welcome back for Working Fans Comedycast, episode 52, where this week we are going to talk Austin Powers, The Spy Who Shagged Me. But first, as always, we are brought to you by the Pro Wrestling Vault, Volume 1, written by Vinnie Berry, 35 short stories across the wrestling landscape. The big surprise is each book comes autographed by one of 11 wrestlers featured in the book. He also wrote the book Lance by Chance. We've talked about it before. If you want to hear about the lost Von Erich cousin and the wild life he lived outside of wrestling, anybody can enjoy this book. We are also brought to you by our first musical guest, Ayo Money Meech. Brought you the album Graham. Check it out. Dave, this week we are talking Austin Powers, The Spy Who Shagged Me. Dave's working double time on getting the show promoted, making sure everybody's comfortable. It's a wild day in the Smith household.
Yeah, not everybody's comfortable. That's the problem, you know. You got some people a little high strung, and then you got some people a little too comfortable. Maybe they fallen asleep or something, you know. Something happened. I'm just talking shop here. Who knows?
I know, a little behind the scenes action, but you know, Dave, you're used to making it work with people that are a little high strung, so
yeah,
you got experience in it.
Oh, yeah, high strung, low strung. I've done it all, baby. Big, small, don't matter. I like them all sizes.
Now, Dave, this week we are talking Austin Powers, The Spy Who Shagged Me. Did you enjoy this more than the first movie?
Yes. And I'll tell you why. So points of it where it's funny. The pace was good, like we always talk about, but there were points where I'm like,
hour and a half once again.
Yeah, I'm like, I was like, I don't know. But then there was points where I laughed a little more at this. And I think that's because in this movie in particular, Mike Myers really focused more, I thought, on the Dr. Evil character. Like, I thought Dr. Evil really came into his own in this movie.
Yeah, I think part of it, too, was they laid the groundwork for him in the first one, so you're more familiar with him.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe getting some of that exposition out of the way with Dr. Evil made it a lot easier. I mean, the movie starts with him.
Right. Yeah, I just thought they did a really good job at laughing at themselves and some of the stuff they were doing, too. Like the fourth wall. Like, there was a thing where they were kind of making fun of, like, storyline plots. And I think it's Basil, whoever, just says, try not to think about it too much. And then he looks at the camera and goes, that goes for you too.
Yeah. And that works because, like we said in the first review, he's Basil Exposition. So he's filling in all those plot points. Now, I want to get to something because since I'm the editor and AJ's episode comes out on Friday, fuck him. But he was talking about our intro video and how we all look homeless. I look like I just rolled out of bed, AJ. You're the one with the goddamn sweatshirt on. I got the podcast logo over my heart.
I breathe for this. I live and I die for this.
But to Chevy's point, since it is his birthday, happy birthday, Chevy.
Chevy.
He probably was the best. And I mean, I think we all knew what we were going for that day. I think he's just mad because Robert Karpeles called him out on that Florida State gear. But getting back to the point at hand, the movie, Dr. Evil uses a device he comes up with that he calls a time machine to travel back to 1969 to remove Austin Powers' mojo.
Mm.
Now, I got this from Michael Hutchinson on IMDb. So he wrote, the sexually wounded swinger must travel back in time with the help of Agent Felicity Shagwell, featured right there,
For the gram.
to recover his vitality. Meanwhile, Dr. Evil's personal life runs amok as he discovers love, continues to shun his son, and develops a close relationship with himself. Well, actually, a clone 1/8 his size who he dubs Mini-Me. The always time baffled Dr. Evil begins his plan to put a gigantic cannon on the moon, thus turning it into a device either called the Death Star or Alan Parsons Project, depending on which name is available. Now, I thought this movie was a good follow-up to the original Austin Powers, like we talked about at the top. Rotten Tomatoes did not feel the same. 52% on the tomato meter, 71% audience score. Do you think that's fair for this movie? And anybody watching, let us know in the comments, by the way, too.
I don't know. I thought it was funnier than the first one in a lot of ways. Just some of the silly stuff, but I mean, I like it. Like when, to me, one of the great classic moments, especially if you know the show and you know the time period, like when he's on Jerry Springer and like
I was about to bring that up. That is such a sign of the times that Jerry Springer is involved.
Yeah.
And I was listening to the commentary, and the fact that Jerry Springer got into a fight with him was, they asked Jerry, like, what's one thing that's never happened on the show? And he never became involved in the fight. So that was something for the movie. And that, I mean, the show's still going today, but that felt like 1999 right there.
Yeah. You motherfucker.
Yeah.
And like, you know, basically bleep out everything he says. And it's just so great because he's totally playing the type of people you would see on Jerry Springer in that time period, but he's still dressed as this eccentric Dr. Evil character.
Yeah.
And it's just, I think that's what makes it. And that's where they, you know, they kind of went a little out there with this one, but that's what I enjoyed about it.
Now, for our wrestling fans out there, which character on the left side of that set would Brian Kendrick most fit in that costume? I'm not going to make you answer that. There was like a Klansman, a Nazi, and somebody else, because it was like fathers trying to take over the world.
Right.
That was a terrible joke that went nowhere. Don't worry.
I had to like think back. That's right. Yeah.
I had to like make sure like you didn't answer it and be like, Dave, it's live. We can't cut that out. Now, the movie obviously stars Mike Myers again, playing Austin Powers, Dr. Evil, and adding Fat Bastard to the mix.
Yeah.
Like we said earlier, Heather Graham is Felicity Shagwell. Got to be one of the stars of the movie.
Whatever happened? Who was the girl in the first one there?
Elizabeth Hurley. She was featured in the first scene of this movie.
Right.
I think to tie up her character. It was an odd choice because she was really just there for the opening scene.
But like, did they use her at like? Because some of that looked like like they were doing special effects and they had different things they're using.
Oh yeah,
so.
to make her a fembot. I listened to the commentary too, and I think they just used it for this one scene. I think they played with the film back and forth.
Okay, interesting.
But Michael York returned as Basil Exposition. Robert Wagner is number 2.
It's a quiet return here too. In the
quiet returns.
Yeah, in the beginning, when I forget what they called here, but the guy that basically he's watching the Springer show. It was like the guy who got ran over by the Zamboni.
Yep.
Yes, he was back in here.
And that is notable because he comes from the Groundlings group, and so does who is the other quiet return in this movie?
Well, the one that popped in my head was and that I don't think that would have been was Will Ferrell.
Same thing. He's also from the Groundlings, and he's the other character in this movie that died in the first one, but returns in this one.
Because he's in the 60s, so they can play off that a little bit.
Yeah.
Similar jokes too. There was a lot of vagina. There was I wanna hump a lot was in this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What, Kristen Johnson from Third Rock from the Sun, like got a lot of like actors of the era. Like Rob Lowe plays young number 2.
Mhm.
Seth Green returns as Scott Evil. Mindy Sterling, also another groundling, returns as Frau Fabicina.
Mhm.
Vern Troyer making the debut as Mini-Me, bursting onto the scene. And
R.I.P. brother.
Elizabeth Hurley reprising a role as Vanessa Kensington for one scene, and that angers one of our fans later who commented.
um, yeah, I did enjoy the again, I thought some of this goes off the rails, but I guess I thought that was kind of good. Was Dr. Evil and what's her name again? That's nine. Stop. You know, the lady with the
Yeah.
hook. Yeah, the love making scene. They made Scotty evil.
Oh god, there was so much, and they really expounded a lot more upon Dr. Evil in this one.
Yeah.
You know, it was almost like his featured movie, it felt like, with Austin Powers kind of peppered in there.
It's like, yeah, and it's a very quotable film. Like I'm just looking at it now, like you know, one of my like Unibrow, like they had the lady, her
Yeah.
love interest, right? And then it's like I call it a Belgian dip, you know, it's how we drink it, you know. And one of my favorites is it's what the French call I don't know what. You know, it's just little stuff like that.
Yeah, now, what was it? It was written by Michael Myers and Michael McCullers, directed by Jay Roach again, and they had a lot of producers on this one. Emma Chasen, associate producer, Michael DeLuca, Donna Longley, executive producers,
Mm.
John S. Lyons, Eric McLeod, Demi Moore returning, Mike Myers, all producers on this, Erwin Stoff, executive producer, and Jennifer and Suzanne Todd, both producers.
Mm. Yeah. I don't know really what else to say about this film though. That's the thing when we talk about these movies, like they're fun,
Yeah.
they're a quick watch. They fly right by. They're silly humor, like it says at one point. Don't overthink it. There's some humor that maybe is a little too toilet humor, like maybe like where he drinks the actual shit at one point, you know.
Oh yeah, he's talked in the commentary specifically about Fat Bastard being the most vulgar character he
Hmm.
played, but there were definitely a lot of like wild jokes in this one.
Yeah.
Especially, yeah, with drinking like Fat Bastard shit when it was thinking it was coffee. And
Yeah, a
I
little
mean, these are
frisky.
fun movies, but like, do you think that's why comedy movies get such a low rating from this time? Because they are just fun, stupid laughs.
Yeah, it's also interesting to think the time period of this film. Like again, it's comedy, but you don't see a lot of films like this anymore. Like a character like Fat Bastard. Do we get that too often today? Like, you know what I mean? In the oversensitive culture we have sometimes, no offense, like, is this just fat shaming? This isn't entertaining. This is fat shaming. Should we not do this? What about does Fat Bastard even like kind of like going after it with Heather Graham there, where she's doing it takes to be the spy, where he's like,
Yeah.
oh, you're a little frisky. Is Austin Powers a little rapey? Do I make you a
Oh,
whore?
100%. Like,
Yeah.
Fat Bastard, the name wouldn't even exist because that would be a trigger, I think.
Right, right. So it's
But I
interesting.
mean, at the time, this thing had around a $33 million budget, according to IMDb.
Hmm.
It grossed about 206 billion or
Wow.
206 million
Yeah.
$40,086 in US and
I
Canada.
do want to say when I was saying fuck, I was actually assuming you were going to say million. When I heard billion, I was about to say,
Yeah.
wait, look that again. No way, this motherfucker.
I was looking at it because that 40,000, it just sits weird in between all those commas.
Mhm.
312,016,928 grossed worldwide, and its opening weekend was 17,981,900, June 13th, 1999. Now, those are wild numbers. Another fun fact, Rob Lowe's impression of Robert Wagner was so good because he had been doing it for years before the movie because he dated one of Wagner's daughters, according to
Nice.
IMDb. So it was a funny thing. Now, some of your favorite scenes from this movie, I like the intro when he's so into being in love and then he gets attacked by this robot, and it just hits him that he's single again, and he just goes from like depressed to like dancing naked down to the lobby, redoing that joke from the first one.
Mhm.
And I think that was the one that Ryan Damon would like eliminated, because we'll get to one fan thought right now, because he said Fat Bastard and Mini Me were great. Love Heather Graham. The opening scene being eliminated and burned would be good. I think it's good because it fills in a like storyline from the first one and
Right.
continues that along.
Yeah, you need that. Maybe he's saying you could get rid of the dance scene, but I didn't have a problem with it. I thought it went a little long, if anything, but like, you know what I mean? Like, I got the joke, but but it is it's the kind of humor you're going to expect from a movie like this. Also, I never really noticed this before, but is the hair all shaped on his chest basically a penis?
I believe so.
Hmm.
I would have to go back and see, but I'm sorry, the Will Ferrell scene's playing on my TV now, and I was just getting caught up in it.
You got a
But
penis.
now the dick rocket shooting across space and the way it went from person to person to person describing it,
Woody.
falling on Willie Nelson at one point.
Mhm.
Like, that whole scene cracked me up. Were there any other scenes in this movie that you enjoyed?
That one was good. The Woody Harrelson one you said. I do love. Again, I have to put it over one more time. The Jerry Springer one was one of my favorites right in the beginning.
Yeah, that was a really good opening scene, I thought.
Dr. Evil making love was a little weird, but also kind of funny at times too. Memorable scene, I'll say that.
Yeah.
Um, hmm. Man, it's more about the one-liners and the comments. Again, Dr. Evil, I think, just shines in this, like little mini me's humping. Can you not hump the freaking laser, please? Daddy's working,
Yeah.
and then you complete me. It's just the way he delivers this stuff. It's silly and it's over the top, but
Yeah, the way Mini Me would like bite people, or he left roadkill in Scott's bed. Like, just the whole interplay between him and Dr. Evil was great.
Yeah. And we find out again, Jerry Springer's revisited at the end, and we find out who Scott Evil's mom is and all that stuff.
Yeah, I thought it tied together great. I mean, the whole movie, it just flew by so fast, and that's one thing that I'm really missing, because I like longer movies, and I do like the movies that are being made nowadays, but we just keep talking about how these hour and a halves fly by. And
we got to do the trilogy next week, right? We're just going to go right to Austin Powers.
Oh, yeah, right. I was going to save it, but we're running together. Like, these winter storms are fucking us up. Dave's got to get his water in.
Sorry, I know it's not, but I'm thirsty. I've been fucking running around.
Yeah,
I don't eat well, folks.
We fit this in when we can. Now, we'll get to some fan thoughts. Sure. Amy Flexer posted the 2 gifts about this.
Mm-hmm.
One was, I also like to live dangerously. And the other one said, yeah, baby, yeah. Friend Leah Hastings from high school said, you may already know my thoughts, because she watched this movie countless numbers of times with my buddy who she was dating at the time. And she just huge Austin Powers fan. Ryan Damon, we read his comment before. Fat Bastard and Mini Me, he loved those editions. Hated that first scene. Jason Gross, I liked the movie. Bartek Panawicki, loved it. Former guest of the show, Kevin Kelton, said not realistic at all. And we know he's kidding.
Who's Kevin Kelton? He's been on our show?
Yeah, he did the More Perfect Union podcast. He wrote for SNL.
Yeah. When you said Jason Gross, I started thinking of like people in that
the militia Facebook
Rock and Randy's. Yep. I'm like, oh, you mean a professional guest we had? Yes, Kevin Kelton. Yeah.
Now Zach Charlwood said groovy baby. Lee Thorne got up. Man. He said, I couldn't ever get into any of these Austin Powers movies. So when I talk to Lee later on Unscripted Violence, Pro Wrestling Talk, we'll fucking hash that out.
Goddamn right. Shout out Lee.
Panawicki, it's my favorite Bond movie. And I thought it was I thought they nailed a lot of the Bond elements well. You know, from like styling their villains after them to the music that they chose. Mark Zarati, it's incredibly stupid. If you know Mark, you are not surprised by that. He is tattooed on his head. He is tattooed all over. He's probably tattooed on his ass, but I'm not going to ask him. Kelsey Cody said, I can't believe my mother let me watch it, but I loved it. And now the Mothership group chimes in. Kenny Color, love it. Harry Priest, favorite of the three. I don't know. Like, I remember Goldmember being pretty good.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. But now we're gonna get to watch it, so I'm curious. Yeah,
because I watched all these years ago, and I remember them all being funny. Obviously, the first one is good, but the following two build up on the universe that they set there.
I'm just thinking of Danny DeVito. Mini me.
Yeah, by that point, Austin Powers had gotten so big. What do you think a 2021 Austin Powers movie, or 2020, probably 3 by the time it comes out, Austin Powers movie? What's it going to be like?
Oh, I can't even imagine. It's going to be silly. It's going to be ridiculous. It's going to be over the top. Hopefully it stays true to what made it good, and it evolves a little bit in some ways because I don't know. I don't know how it works. I'm very curious. I'm very curious to see what a Michael Myers looks like as Austin Powers in 2023 too.
Yeah, I mean, I bet they could do it with makeup. I think it's just going to be the content of the jokes.
Yeah, that'll be interesting to see. I mean, Dr. Evil is kind of timeless, right? Because he's got like the face that's like almost all made up and everything, and the bald head.
Yeah,
so I'll just be curious to see how everything looks. And I don't know. Maybe he settles down in 2023, right? He meets an actual somebody.
Oh wow! See, I didn't even think about what Dr. Evil would be like nowadays. I was thinking more got like the content of the jokes and kind of Mike Myers, but yeah.
Oh, actually, yeah. But in the third one too, they kind of end up they're like brothers or something. I think I remember. There's something that happens where they're connected. We'll have to watch
Spoiler alert for the next episode.
Yeah, people came out 20 years ago. Fuck out of here.
Yeah, probably that one, because what the first one came out 25 years ago. You said about this time.
So ask me this question next week because I want to see how that's got to be fresh in my mind. I want to know how that actually plays out in the story.
Okay, yeah, because it'll be easier to tell where the fourth could go from.
They do seem to like, at least it's as silly as it is, and not like as much just kind of just a bunch of jokes. They seem to like continue the storylines. They play off everything. So
yeah, they're pretty good with continuity, which always helps, and just knowing their jokes. Like, I can't wait to see Will Ferrell return. I think if they get him, that'll be. They got him when he was an unknown in the first ones, and now he's going to be like a huge star coming in.
Out of everybody we know that contributes to this podcast, who is the Austin Powers of our group?
It's got to be AJ because he's so not self-aware.
Awesome. Yeah, I could see that. Yeah. I was going to say, you could include like Randy, you can include everybody, like, whoever. Yeah. I don't know.
That's an interesting one.
Yeah. Who's our Austin Powers? Who's our Dr. Evil?
Ooh, yeah. Dr. Evil.
Yeah. I don't know. So it's something to think about next week too.
Yeah, we'll put that out in the Facebook groups, and hopefully we'll come back with an answer to that one on Goldmember. Now, God, wrapping up with a third one next week. What do you think it is about these Austin Powers movies that work so well? And why do they work as a trilogy?
It's just mindless, funny entertainment. You don't have to think about too hard. You're just having fun. But even through all that, like I said, and you said, the continuality, like everything makes sense. So, and if it doesn't make sense, they're not afraid to poke fun of themselves and acknowledge that.
Yeah, 100%. Now, guys, I think we've said about all we can say about this movie.
And more.
And more, definitely. It's too bad Adge couldn't make it. Catch him on the live show today.
Adge is killing it on episode N. So look at, I don't know if you caught that, but I also wrote episode 132, and I think
it's already changed. I fixed it.
Oh, okay.
I was like, episode N, like, where is this coming out in Russia or something? That looks like the translation.
N 132.
But guys, thank you for joining us again for the Comedy Cast, and we will talk to you again next week.
Later, you filthy animals.